Welcome to another edition of Green is Good. We're so excited to have with us today Elliot Groman. He's the president of SpinGreen. Welcome to Green is Good, Elliot.
Hey, John. How are you guys?
We are great today, and I just want to say thanks for coming on the show. I want our listeners to jump on your great website before we get going here. It's www.spingreen.com. Elliot, before we talk about SpinGreen, which is, I'm on the site right now and on my iPad. I love your site, and I love what you're doing. Before we get into that, tell a little bit about your journey leading up to SpinGreen. How'd you get here? Why are you here today? And share your story a little bit.
All right, thank you. I hope it's interesting enough. The thing is, I came here from Russia, and it's tough growing up a foreigner in New York and in the United States, and I guess I got first interested in recycling when I went to the Army. I went to Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri, which is the Army Corps of Engineers. And really the only jobs that they allowed a Russian to do at that time, because it was 1989, still in the Cold War.
Right.
And they allowed me some engineering stuff, help not build bridges, but carry the stuff that builds bridges, maybe a laundry and I think cooking. So I decided, obviously, to do, to get involved in engineering. I thought maybe afterwards I can get a decent job. By the way, kids, don't do this at home, but I never finished high school, so I thought, this would be my only chance to get a decent civil job.
Right.
So, then all of a sudden, we had Desert Shield, which really wasn't the war yet, but we were supposed to just go out there and, watch things that it didn't escalate. And then, we went out to Tehran and then Kuwait, and then things did escalate, and Desert Shield became Desert Storm. And obviously there wasn't a lot of bridges to be built out there, but when I came back after the war, because actually, thank God, it was a 12-day war, I went back to Fort Drum, New York, and I worked on some sort of, engineering projects, building dams and things of that nature. And, I got involved, I guess I got my grinding my teeth, I guess, or cut my teeth. I don't know what the saying is correctly. Then, about, preserving things, the environment, because, building dams and how, the Army Corps was very cognizant of not hurting the environment at the time.
Right.
And then, I guess afterwards, there wasn't, because I spent at least 2 years in war training, and then you have to go 6 to 8 years to really get a full-time job, something afterwards. I kind of just bounced around. So that part wasn't the most interesting. I was a stockbroker and a mortgage broker. And then I met my lovely wife. We were together for, 8 years and knew each other for another 2, so it's 10. And, at the time there was, we're fast forward to the early 2000s, and there was this big thing on, going on in America where the farmer growers of America were suing the ethanol users of America and saying that the ethanol guys was using too much corn for feedstock for biomass renewable fuels. And saying that, and then the farmers were saying that, listen, you're raising up the price of the corn, and so the supermarket of America people said, well, it's hurting people because corn is a staple of American life. So what my wife came up with at the time was she said that one of the feedstocks for making biomass or biodiesel is cooking oil. And instead of using new cooking oil, why don't we use the cooking oil that was already allocated for for consumption, and then afterwards we can source it, collect it, and clean it, and then sell it, to biodiesel makers. That way, we don't, take away from the people who use it for consumption. We don't raise the prices. We just basically, renew, reuse, recycle a product that's already been allocated for something else. So we got into that, and, at the time we saw that, people were charging, restaurants, were charging, people to pick up the oil. And mainly, our where we'd get the oil, because a lot of people fry, was, restaurants, schools, hotels, what have you, whatever there was a cooking facility.
Right.
So we came in and said, you know what, why should people pay? We're going to make money anyway. You know what I mean? So why don't we do it for free? So we started doing it for free, and we became wildly successful. Then everybody thought that this business model isn't gonna work, and then but then lo and behold, we were like the number one in New York independent oil collection company. We were called Brooklyn Biodiesel, and then other people jumped on board and said, you know what, we'll do it for free too. So then when we said, you know what, if you're going to do it for free, now we're going to make everybody our partners. And we started doing profit sharing. And so what we decided to do was, now going from free, we decided to pay people $20, to get the stuff.
Right.
And now, basically, we completely changed the industry where, restaurants and other food service industries are now getting paid for that product, because now everybody knows it's a commodity. But then, everybody started getting into it. And again, we were, knock on wood, but we were wildly successful. And so we sold the company. And then, my wife got pregnant, and, again, it was the best thing that ever happened. But, it got me even more interested in saying, listen, you know what, how do I preserve the planet for my son? How do I, help America be, less pollutant, And another industry, which was, in my opinion, almost the same thing, was, textile recycling. I felt it was the forgotten recyclable. If you look at the EPA, they tell America throws out 21 billion pounds of clothes a year. Just in New York alone, it represents about 12 to 13% of every landfill. And the sick part about it, John, is that 95 to 100% of those textiles can be recycled, especially if it's in a single stream form, not mixed in with anything.
Right.
So we said, why don't we get into it? Why don't we put our special touch on it? Like I told you before you got on the phone, my wife's the source and I'm the force. And, so she puts her love into it, and I put my, hammer skills to it.
That's perfect. So now the company's called SpinGreen. For our listeners out there, it's www.spingreen.com. I'm on the site now. It's gorgeous. Now we know why you went into the field. Explain to our listeners what you do and what makes your company different, with you and your wife's great different skill sets. What you do and why is it different? Well,
a couple of things. First of all, the industry itself is about 100 years old. I don't know if you are a movie lover, but if you ever read Kirk Douglas's book, Son of a Ragman, it'll tell you this has been around for a long time.
Right.
So people have been, recycling textiles, using the fabric, using the material, sort of like, scrap cotton, so to speak. But what we basically do, we collect, we sort, we donate, we distribute and source textiles for commercial and commercial companies as well as charities. What I feel makes us different is our motto, is that we educate, we donate, we innovate, and we're totally transparent. The last couple of years, the industry has morphed into the situation where there's these boxes all over the place, and they're sometimes obtrusive, sometimes not. You might see them; they say clothing drop on them and stuff like that.
Right.
So what my wife and I decided to do was, look, we're in a win-win-win business. Everything in the way we look at it, we want to be able to make everybody happy. Just like New York, for instance, gives 5 cents. They incentivize people to recycle. Plastic and stuff like that.
Right.
We do the same thing. So one of the main things we started to do, like with oil, we started to incentivize people, in a financial way to help, kickstart, the recycling aspect. The second thing that we do is, we actually do donate. If you looked at our website, we work with American Red Cross, Boys and Girls Club, Police Athletic League, Gay Men's Health Crisis. We work with Chabad, which is a global Jewish organization.
Sure.
We work with Urban Strategies, Urban League, and so we try to give a large portion away of what we do to benefit the communities, to benefit the charities, and to do the right thing. But not everything, as you know, is wearable. So the stuff that's not wearable, we sell. And a lot of people shy away from that, but we're being totally transparent. We sell.
Right.
Who do we sell to? We sell to companies that source the fabric into car seat stuffing. One of the biggest companies we work with is Lehigh out of North Carolina. They make household insulation, denim insulation. They make roof insulation, and they make it from the ripped jeans, the stained shirts, the dirty pillowcases. They take it all together like a giant melting, cooking pot.
Right.
They sanitize it, they shred the material, they color it, and then it becomes something new, something wearable. And then the stuff that's, again, even stuff that they don't take, and then we take it even further. Then we make that into wipes, for the car industry or the mechanic shop industry. And, it somewhere in between, we do sell the clothes as well to non-commercial use where, again, to people who, might not, America is a very rich country. Right. I wouldn't say specifically we sell to Africa or Central America, but we do sell some of the clothes, again, the ones that are not the best quality, but not the worst quality, and the quality that I guess you can't use for industrial use. We sell it locally. But with the money, that's also very important. It doesn't just go into our pockets. Some of it does because God said it's not noble being poor. But we do educate. And so far, we incorporated a company in November, but we started really going full force in February. We had to get some infrastructure, hire some people, all this stuff. We've taught 422 kids environmental studies.
That's awesome.
I don't know if you know, John, but New York has been trying to mandate environmental studies since 2011, and because of budget crisis and things of that nature, they haven't been able to fit it into the curriculum. And all the 10-year teachers, let's be fair, 20 years ago, other than Al Gore, nobody was really interested or learning about global warming and the environment. So what we want to do is we want to fill in the void. And we've taught schools like Intermediate School 59, Boys and Girls Club, the PAL, Hugo Preparatory School, just to name a few. We have a curriculum that's been approved. We teach six lessons, once a week, 45 to an hour and 15 minutes per class, and where we start teaching them in recycling and the benefits of recycling. Then obviously we will go into to recycling textiles and why that's good and why that's important. Then we talk about the environment and the sustainability. Then we move on to composting and the benefits of that, and then we go into global warming and finish up with renewable energy. And then in the end, so we catch their attention, we give them out a little Kindle, because kids.
Elliot, we're down to the last 45 seconds or so. Where's SpinGreen going to go in the future?
Well, number one, I hope to be like you someday. That's the main thing.
So
I want to be respected in my industry, but we really want to be in every state. We want to, spread the word out because, again, 21 to 24 billion pounds of clothing are thrown out a year. And this is, in the EPA numbers. And so, listen, we're right now maybe, just tip of the iceberg, and we're maybe doing 5% of that, 2% of that.
It's the tip of the iceberg, and we're going to have you back to keep talking about your great story. For our listeners out there, go to www.spingreen.com GreenIsGood.com. Elliot Groman, you're an impactful sustainability leader
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
and truly living proof that green is good.